Hi. So now it's time to actually debug and get our project up and running by setting up the admin and doing the migration things. So let's go ahead and finish off this project and make sure that everything working correctly. I'm going to hop over to the editor as I always. Here I am at my editor, and the first thing I want to make sure that setup is my admin py file under blog. Have not actually done the registration yet, so I am going to do it. Say from blog dot models import post comment, and once these are ready to go, I'm going to say admin site register and should actually be a lowercase register. Okay. So we will register post and then we are going to do the exact same thing. Admin site register for comment also. Okay. So save that and then I'm going to bring up my terminal. And with the terminal here, what I am going to do is cd into the blog project folder and then let me uh, cd into my site folder. And this is where I should be able to call Python manager manage.py file, and I will call migrate python manage.py migrate. Let's see if that works for us. Make sure there is no error. So and then the other thing we are going to after this is okay, here we go, one error. Okay, so it says right there in line 28, comment name model is not defined, which means we probably forget to import something in the actual models. So let's come over here to models.py and make sure that's all fixed or not. So we'll come over here to this and maybe either in the forms, or let's see, now it's in the model.py file. Come to models.py. So it says model is not defined, meaning this should have been coming down here, models. Okay, so I'm going to save that and let's run this again. And I'm kind of trying to show you realistically how you would actually go about doing these sort of debugging things. So this next bug that I got was an import errors, no modules name blocks. So all I have to do is scroll up and try to find out where was I trying to call blocks and when I should have just been calling block singular things. And it looks like here in the line 22 of my URLs on my site, I was calling blocks like URLs. So I just come back to urls.py, come over here and see where I was actually calling blocks, and actually this is the wrong url.py file. So this one is the one I want. Scroll down and it says blog URL, that should be blocks singular. Save that, no problem. And now let's try to run this again. And we are basically going to keep doing things until we fix out all these various bugs. Now, if you don't actually want to spend the time to go through this sort of more realistic debugging process, feel free to just copy and paste all the text files from the actual nodes. But this is kind of trying to show you what realistically would happen if we went about the project this way. So okay, so we have some invalid syntax. I probably forget to close this off. So we'll say from blog import views and is the this is the user file. Going to hop over to that views.py file, and it looks like it's having issues with my syntax here, and it's because I forgot a comma. So save that, no problem, and we'll run python manage.py. Okay, so it needs to save this thing and no migration to apply. Perfect. So let's actually check this out. We'll say python manage.py and I'm going to say make migration blog. Run that and make it looks like it said create model comment Django utils.time zone now model post. Perfect. So I am going to say python manage.py migrate again and it's going to apply those migrations to the blog. Okay. And now that what I am going to also do is say python create super user. So actually python manage that .py create super, if I can spell this right way, create super user. So super user, and then I'm also going to do here is hit enter, and we may have an issue. So it says this is the hint for us. Okay, so it seems you set a fixed date as a default for this field, and this may not be what you want right now. If you want to have the current blah blah, you can actually ignore these for now. So it's not a big deal given the way we are doing things. So what we are going to do is say username is like this, email address. So we can just do whatever. So hello at gmail.com. Password, I will use test password. What you can use what you want. And then the super user was created successfully. So let's see if we can actually get this project to run. We'll say python manage.py run server, and there it is. So it's time to kind of cross our fingers and make sure we actually get everything to work. I'm going to copy that and let's bring in over the browser here. So come to the URL page and we see this no reverse match. So coming to the URL page and we see if it looks empty like this where it says no query set or arguments are missing, zero patterns, right? This is really common error when you are working with URL templates. And if you see here it says error during template rendering, which kind of gives you a hint that it has to do with templates, and it is also in the template and it's right here. So if you kind of zoom in, let me do a couple of pluses here, and it's under post list that HTML error at the zero. And you notice that the very first line what we are doing is we are extending from based .html, and this is something you are doing to all the time, this sort of no reverse match especially. So where you are starting out, which is why I kind of really want to show you how you can debug this on your own. So we'll come back to the editor over here, and what I am going to do is here I have post list .html. I can double check to make sure my URLs okay. And usually a common mistake is kind of mess up these quotes right here or forget these quotes up these things. And if you come back to base.html, these are all looking okay to me. What we can do at baseline is to me. So and then explore which one seems to be having the errors. So we see here we have this navbar, so there is URLs in there and we can kind of find the culprit, right? Okay, URL post list, this is the culprit. Looking like we forget to put or forget to put in the quotes this one. Okay, so I will save that. And now let's kind of start this guy back up again. Well, actually, and there it is my blog about GitHub, LinkedIn. So good. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, make sure everything working, hit that button and bingo, have another error. It's a template syntax error and it's happening at accounts login. So thanks to Django I kind of already have an idea where it is happening. So that's keyword with the form sp, it says expected end block, and you might be thinking, well, that's weird, we never have to put an end block with a form. Well, and then it says did you forget to register or load this tag? Well, maybe I did, but that's weird because I would not have an end block of a form sp. As if you scroll down, it actually highlights it for you, and this is where we can actually see the error we did here. We we were using the wrong template tagging. Remember we formed gzip, you just injected, it's not an actual code here with the percent sign. So coming back to our log in HTML, what actually should have done was have this sort of syntax, these double brackets, since I am essentially just injecting that form in. So I'm going to save that, and now let's try this again. I will come back, refresh the home page, and now it seems to be working. If I hit the person, my username is this, and let's input test password, login, and see if we get an error. It looks like I'm zoomed in, right? Okay, so which is why you kind of get this weird behavior. But if you start zooming out, you see it right line. So it's let's check this all out, see if it is works. I will hit a new post, see if we get an error. So far so good. The lit title of my post is this, and so we will say something like, and we can, and if I highlight it, I can see that if I put in bold here, it is actually working. So let's save this, see if we get an error. No, okay. It looks like that actually working. So let's try editing it first. So it says this is test. I am going to say add on edit, and I don't actually want this to be bold. So we will say something like underline it without the bold and then save that. So it looks like we are not seeing the actual content of the post. So just as test post, we will have to check back on that. But let's see if we publish it, if we actually end up seeing that content. So I hit publish and nothing's happened. I'm not being redirected anymore anywhere. Meaning, if I come over to my blog, I don't see anything. So something has an issue where when we are actually dealing with editing and post. So let's come back here to draft and bingo. This is we found the error. So now we see we have this field error at draft and it says it cannot resolve keyword created date into field choices. Sorry. So author ID comments create date success. So this is actually quite a obvious error. Hopefully you can see here that somewhere along the lines I started calling it created date instead of create date. So we have two options here. Either I change the model to have it say create date or I change this keyword to say create date. It's up to you at this stage which way you should go. If you already have a bunch of stuff in your model, you already create a bunch of blog posts, then you should probably affect the keyword here instead of the actual choices here. But what we are going to do is kind of explore how we could fix this since we are just starting out. So I will hop back over to this and I'm going to come to models.py to kind of confirm here. I have created dates and what it should have been is create a date. So I could do that, or the other thing I could have done is go back to the actual reference or create a date. So if I come over to drafts, let's expand this. So coming over to my post draft list, somewhere along the lines here, I said create a date instead of create date. So I would actually recommend that you fix this in the HTML template rather than coming over here and affecting your model. But since we are just starting out, I think it's better to kind of switch the model out, and that's also because this matches the nodes. So I will save this and I am going to control C here and migrate everything again since I affected the model. So we will say python manage.py migrate and it says no migration to apply. So I going to say python manage.py make migration, then call blog over and it said alter field. So added, so edit this and it alter that, so perfect. And then we can also see it's affecting comments, and if we come over to comment, let's make sure that working well or not. So we see create date there and let's have that we also created. So we are kind of going to fix that as well, create a date, and I will save that. And now let's actually run that same line again. So it's altered that in the comments as well. So now I have created date on both of them, and I am going to say python manage.py migrate and it's going to apply all those changes. Let's start off by actually saying python manage.py run server and see if that works for us. So I am going to refresh my drafts and there it is, test post. Perfect. So I come back to my blog and I have nothing come to my drafts. Looks like that's working. Hit test post and it looks like I still can't register what I am actually doing here. So if I type some stuff here, you can see that the colors are changing. I can highlight stuff, take away the underline. I can save it, but it's not actually showing the text. So somewhere along the line, I am not injecting the text. So let's see if it works. If comments, if I say add comment, let's put in a new author for this comment. So we'll say visitor, we'll type this text. And so this is a comment text. I'm going to post a comment and looks like I can see the text there. So let's approve this. So that commitment approved, but I still cannot see the test post. So even when I click publish, I can see that nothing's really happening. So I come back to my blog draft. Something's wrong with that publish button. So let's go check it back here. All right. So coming back to the post detail page, which is where I would be going to if we check out our views again to review this coming down once you click publish somewhere. So here it is. Once I click publish, it should be taking me to that post detail page. So something's up here. Let's go to that post detail page and see if we notice anything kind of wrong things. So I'm going to get a little more room here and you will notice that I have this post content class and here I am calling the title, but over here in post content I'm accidentally calling the title again. This should have been actually calling the content of that post, which makes sense for us. And the content of that post was the text. So let's type that in. We'll say text and save that and see if we can continue debugging this as I refresh. And now I see this is a test add on edit, etc. So it looks like that actually worked. Let's see if hitting the publish button affect this. It is still I suspect would not do anything. So there is publish. So we are not getting any sort of redirect on publish, but we figured out why was not showing that actual test of the post. So let's figure out how we can connect this publish button to actually work. Going to come back here and then let's check out the actual draft page or what the post detail page looks like. All right. So let's actually try to track down the source of that error. When you hit that publish button, nothing's really happening. So if we come back to the post detail view, I see here that the button I am pressing is this one right here. Class has a button default. And then if you look at the ref, it's taking us to post publish with the primary key equal to post. So let's go ahead and review that post publish URL and see if there is the issue there. So I will come over here urls.py and behold the very first line, last one is the publish one. Well, that's interesting. And it looks here that it is okay. It is going to take you to post the primary key and then publish the view is post publish. That makes sense. And the name which is post publish. So that means the culprit might be at the view.py views. So let's go over to the Python file and explore that. I will come to views.py and then I will scroll down until we actually get to that post publish view, that function view. And then here it says log and required post publish and will get object or for and then it's going to call this method on that post object, the publish method, and it's going to redirect you back to the post detail. So far that actually kind of makes sense. So maybe the problem is not with the view but with the model itself. And if you remember back when we first started this, Django tried to warn us about the time zone problem. And we are basically about to see why it was trying to warn us. So one thing here is that I'm calling the method, but not executing it. So that's the main error we have, that I was not executing it. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm also going to, you can see, immediately fix that. But beside that, I also want to make sure that the post is okay. So I'm going to come back to models.py and remember that Django was warning us about some sort of time zone issue. Well, we can see here that I was supposed to be actually calling publish instead of just hopping over on the .py. And so dot on the .py assigning it. So we are actually calling it to execute now, which makes more sense. And coming back to models.py, another issue that Django was complaining about, which is a little hard to explain. If you have not seen it, often is the issue of the date time field, the default being time zone. Now I was actually calling it to execute, but what it really want up here is just the function itself. So you don't execute it here inside of the date time field. So now I'm going to save that, and I will also save my post detail page, and let's try this again. I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to hit publish, and it looks like I need to log in again. So so we'll say test password it login, and now we can see that the publish is gone. So if I go back to my blog now, I see the test post with the one comment. Perfect. So let's try this all again and make sure that it's actually working. I will create a new post. It's going to be by me, and this will call this last test post, and we will say hello world. My site is functional. So I will hit this save. Looks like it says hello world. My site is functional. Save it. Okay. If I hit draft, I should see it there in draft. Okay. Then if I add a comment, I should be able to do that. We already tested this out, but let's try this again. Some visitor, blah blah blah. कुछ भी लिख सकते हैं, whatever you want. Post the comment here. I can see it can either be removed or approved, and I am going to try to publish this. And it looks like the publish is gone. They get the publication date. Go to my blog and I see last test post. Let's make sure I can actually remove and delete post. So see that there was not an issue with the delete views. Going to delete this post right here by pressing X. Perfect. Are you sure you want to confirm that you want to delete this? Like I mentioned, maybe having loader on everything is not good idea since this is a constantly changing color. But we'll go ahead and confirm it. Looks like deleted it. So my blog, I can also click on about, make sure it takes me to that template view about the company. Thanks for checking it out, and let's make sure I can log out and still see everything. So if I log out, hit my blog, hit test post, everything's functional, and it looks like we were able to successfully get rid of all the errors and troubleshooting this thing. And that was more or less a realistic experience of what it would be like debugging this system. I think the hardest thing as far as this particular debugging call was this one right here when we come to models and fix this time zone issue. Now, in fact, we have not even migrated that changes yet, so it has not taken place. But that's the only one where you really have to have experience to understand that you want it to just pass in the function itself instead of calling the function. So to fix that again, what you have to do is come back over here and then call python manage.py migrate again. So we'll do that before we actually host the website on some sort of server. So thank you everyone. I hope you enjoyed the basics of the Python and you enjoyed this blog, and we have created successfully this it. That's it.